What's the best path to peace is something that has engaged men and women of goodwill from all the major faiths for millennia. Indeed, the whole Bible is to some extent one long record of violence and how Jews and Christians have grappled with that violence. Yahweh, for example, the God of the Hebrew tribes, was viewed as a warrior. All of the prophets and religious teachers, however, acknowledged that they couldn't live in a state of war and were equally concerned with how to generate the conditions for a just and peaceful society. They were overwhelmed with the dehumanizing and evil effects of war and could see how it divided and brutalized people. Then along came Jesus, who said, well, peace be with you. You've heard it said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, but I say to you, love your enemies, do good to those who wish you ill, and don't be overcome by evil. Defeat it with goodness. So you have two contradictory impulses that lie at the heart of the Abrahamic faith, the warrior and the pacifist traditions. Even Jesus said, I've come not to bring peace but a sword, to bring division into families, right into the heart of the people of Israel. And what all those people are reflecting is that search for truth, for righteousness, for justice and peace, or what we might call the kingdom of heaven. It's going to be divisive. It will generate conflict. And the challenge is, how do we deal with that conflict? How do we deal with it creatively and non-violently, and in ways which will ensure that progress will occur rather than kind of destruction? And that's the kind of issue that we're grappling with in the new center, which has come into existence at the University of Otago. So how do we balance the demands of church and state, Caesar and Jesus, peace and justice? When the Roman Emperor Constantine became a Christian, there was a fusion of church and state, which meant the defense of the state was also a defense of Christianity and vice versa. Now there's much more likely to be a division between the church and the state, and I think that's how it should be. There needs to be a tension between the claims of both. Given weapons of mass destruction, we can no longer claim that the interests of communities of faith are served by the interests of the state and the military. So we've got to adopt a much more critical stance. So our challenge as Christians, as human beings, as members of human communities, is to work out how to prevent such violence in the future. We need the support of all faith communities in order to do that. And we've got to have what my father called love, courage, and hope. And they were the qualities that enabled those of you who've served in war to come back intact. They were the qualities that enabled individuals to survive the carnage of the First World War. It's the power of love, kindness, humility, and compassion that enables us to maintain our humanity, our integrity, our wholeness, and our aliveness. That's what enabled us to live meaningful lives in the face of almost certain death. My Uncle Owen's letters, for example, were all about friends, families, lovers, community, and the memory of bitter times. They're about the boredom of war and its nerve-breaking tensions. To my great-aunt Alice, just after the horrors of Crete, he wrote, quote, stories of hopeless and desperate soldiers lying side by side with the hellish enemy, breathing the last hours away. The sin of it all. Never again do I want to fight under such conditions. What a terrible tragedy this beast of Berlin has cast on his people and ours. What a lot he'll have to account for before his maker. What a golden thread of courageous faith is this for us, who recognize our ability to see beautiful things amidst the trials of battle. The beauty of sunset and dawn made one by nature. Bombs, shells, poison gas cannot and will not wreck our faith in human nature or our love for this everlasting right. We know that whatever sorrows have darkened this world, beauty still remains. This was just after he had been kind of evacuated from Crete. Dear one, he says, be hopeful. Life won't be in vain. After the storms of winter, roses will bloom again. I'm supremely thankful that in the kindness of loved ones, even if we are separated for a while, we can find rest and security. So we remember on this Remembrance Day so that we can find that deepest source of love, life, security, and fearlessness. This source doesn't flow from powers and principalities or from the most sophisticated bombers, missiles, and submarines. Rather, it comes from that deep affirmation of all that binds us together as human beings. It flows from that enhancement of our capacity to take delight in the beauty that exists all around us and in the creative responses we make to that beauty. It requires an ability to see ourselves in webs of relationships and in communities that sustain and nurture our ability to be fully alive and fully human. It requires courage and an acceptance of the risks in peace building. 2 weeks before my uncle was killed, he wrote, after 3 days of desert battle when he'd been, he said, It's now that I often think of home and wonder what everybody is doing, for I feel you're very near and dear to me. I appreciate the lifelike pictures that are painted for me within the pages sent so regularly. I can see in my mind's eye all the beauty and splendor of blossoms, flowers, roses. They bloom again within my central being, and the dullness and the loneliness of this wild desert waste disappears from my view. I'm uplifted to greater and nobler hopes and desires of things that will emerge out of this chaos. I look forward to my return home with a wild longing. Lots of love, Owen. Kiss, kiss, kiss. In the face of this sentiment, we who remember have a responsibility to ensure that never again will there be such chaos. We have to learn better ways of building peace. We have to celebrate life as though we are all to die tomorrow. We have to learn forgiveness and compassion. And most of all, we need to acknowledge that our capacity to be who we are rests in the quality of our relationships with others. It rests in our capacity to forgive those who we've been fighting with, to embrace them now as fellow human beings, Japanese, Turks, Germans, all those who were dehumanized and demonized. And there's a lovely poem by Alistair Campbell called Journey from Despair, and it works well, I think, with the sentiments of Remembrance Day. He says, forgiveness is a journey I must take, alone into my childish fears, and there confront my fathers for my children's sake. I must go before I cease to care, and the world darkens and I cannot move. Forgiveness is a journey from despair, along a path my ancestors approved. I must go back and with them make my peace. Forgiveness is a journey into love.
In Flanders fields, the poppies grow. Between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago, we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields.